Well, let me ask you this. How many red flags do you need to see before you leave? He beats you, he cheats on you, disrespects you, and acts like he's the one wearing the panties, and you're still with him. Sometimes it's just that you haven't had enough. At least not yet. Let's listen as this lady shares her story.
So I met a man in 2020. He was a good man. I love that man. He was totally my type, everything that I was looking for in a partner. So when we met, things were going good. And I'd say we got to about the third date before he ghosted me for like a whole week. He then hits me up and he's like, "Hey, I am so sorry. I've had a lot going on. I really want you to come over to my house. I want to make this up to you. I want to go out. Just come over." So of course I go because this is the man of my dreams. And I know he not just going to do me wrong. Life is busy, of course. So I get to his home. This man's entire face is wrapped up. I'm talking about like from here to here. There's tape all around. I'm like, what happened to you? He's like, "Oh, I had surgery on my sinuses." And, he's like, "I'm not feeling well." I'm like, "Okay, then why the hell you call me over?" So anyways, I'm like, "Okay, like, do you need me to do anything?" He's like, "Well, I need you to open the door. My friend is here." His friend comes in, mind you, y'all, there's nothing wrong with the friend. He's like really nice, really respectful. Like he was over there checking on him because he had just had surgery. So we're all three there, chitter chattering very awkwardly because his friend's like, "I don't know this girl." And I'm like, "I don't know him." But anyways, he's like, "Hey, Stace, would you mind going in the kitchen and fixing us some burgers? And let me tell you something. Who don't cook is me." I was like, burgers? And on top of that, I'm in all white. I ain't come over here to do no damn cooking. So I'm like, "No, I can't cook no burger." He was like, "Well, do you mind boiling me an egg?" At this point, I'm like, "Okay, let me boil this egg so I can go." So I'm like, "Okay, I'll boil you an egg." So I get on Google and see how long to boil a damn egg for. So I go in the kitchen. This is the most complicated damn stove I've ever operated in my life. And I'm like, I'm having a little trouble. So his friend comes in there and helps me turn on the stove. All while he's sitting over here wrapped up looking at me like. So the eggs have boiled and I give him the eggs and his friend was like, "Oh, I'm getting ready to go." And I'm like, "Hell yeah, I'm gonna go with you, homeboy." And he's like, "Stacey, would you mind staying?" I'm like, "Okay," because again, I'm not trying to show out in front of this man company. His friend leaves. He's like, "What type of woman don't know how to cook a burger? You've embarrassed me." I was like, "Hey, homeboy, I didn't know I was coming over here to cook a meal because I could have ordered something. Like, I'm real good at ordering." He was like, "I am extremely embarrassed." I'm like, "Okay, this is getting a little intense. I'm about to go." I'm like, "I'm leaving. I don't have time for this. I'm gone." And at this point, he stands up and he's like, "No, I demand you to stay. I can tell you never dated an alpha male. You don't know how to treat an alpha male." I was like, "All right, okay, cool, bye. I'll own it." Y'all, this man's face is bleeding profusely. There is like blood just running down his face, on his shirt. And I'm like, I'm like, "Hey," he's like, "Shut up." I'm like, "All right, you gonna campaign for the Lord to come get you? Who am I to deny you the election?" So at this point, he faints and he falls back into like a little chair. Like, I think he was being dramatic, but whatever. So he falls back and I'm like, I'm not going to touch him because, again, I'm in white. And this was a beautiful white dress. And I'm not about to mess up no white dress with somebody who disrespected me. In high intensity situations, I find myself like I have a delayed reaction to everything. So I'm just standing there waiting for him to come to. When this dude comes to, he was like, "Would you mind running to Chipotle for me? I'm starving." I was like, "Okay, I'll go to Chipotle for you." He gives me his debit card and I go to my car and I'm like, "You know what? I was disrespected." So I put the debit card on top of his mailbox. I backed out of the driveway. I left and I was back over there 2 weeks later. Yep, sure in the hell was. Found out he was polygamous, but that's how that story ends.
Ladies, why are you putting yourself through such dynamics in the name of love? Listen, you don't cook for any man that you're dating because that should be reserved for marriage. Another thing, when a lot of women say that this man is the man of their dreams, I really have to wonder if they're only speaking about physical appearance, because based on the info that this lady gave, this man sounds very controlling, and that in itself is a very big red flag. Ladies, there is much more to it than physical looks. We have to consider the spiritual soundness of the man, his finances, his emotional intelligence, and so much more. So don't limit it down to just looks, because you will end up in a toxic situation. And as we've heard, at the end of it all, and after going through all of this drama, this lady still went back to be with that man after 2 weeks. See, this is why I believe some women just love to suffer and struggle in love. It's like they crave the toxicness, because I have no other explanation for this. As women who are trying to tap into our femininity, this type of relationship is not for us, because they're extremely toxic and draining. Okay, ladies, that's all for today's video. Until next time, stay feminine and sweet.